Hello everyone, my name's Leah. Welcome back to the channel. And today we will look at one of the traveling books that arrived here and read through the whole book and annotated it, of course. For the people who don't know, this is a project that I do with some people on a Discord channel, and it's basically just about sending each other books, reading them, annotating them, sending it to the next person who also annotates it, and so on. So everyone in the group picked one book. They are all from different genres, and yeah, it's just so that everyone gets a book back at the end, which is annotated with all of our thoughts and reactions and so on. Some of us are also illustrating it a little bit. So yeah, it's just very fun. This is almost the last book now in the genre of literary fiction. It's called The Vegetarian by Han Kang. And I've never read it before, but it was a book that I wanted to read for a long time, so that was the perfect opportunity to finally read it and just see what it's all about. And yeah, after this book I'll only get the romance book, and then the project will be done, sadly, but I'm pretty sure that we will do it in the future again. So yeah, in this book, which doesn't have the dust jacket on, but that's fine, makes sense if you're sending the book all around Germany, that you don't want to damage the dust jacket. So yeah, this book basically follows a cast of different characters. Actually, it's not just about the vegetarian on the title. It's written from all kinds of perspectives who are in contact somehow with this vegetarian person. And yeah, I mean, the book talks about Asian culture and Asian society and just individual lives and just a lot of psychological problems that people have to deal with day to day. So yeah, it can be quite triggering, really, if you don't want to read about anything remotely associated with depression, maybe, and cheating and diets. Yeah, I mean, it's obvious with the title The Vegetarian that it will be about food. And yeah, I mean, let's just have a look. We have some water damage over here. Don't know how it happened. It arrived like that at my door. I kind of like the effect, really. I mean, it kind of looks cool. And my annotations are always in this brownish, orangey color right here. So yeah, got a little shocked face right there because of the water damage. And then the first page right here with the title on it. I think there's a name for this kind of page, right? But can't remember it right now. I drew, well, I don't know how to say that. It's a picture of the author, Han Kang, but I also think that the descriptions in the book about the main character, the vegetarian, are quite similar to what the author looks like. So I just thought that this would be the perfect illustrations for this page, because it could be the author, could be the vegetarian, could be both at the same time, who knows. Really happy about how it turned out. And I hope the person who sent the book likes it as well. And then we have title drop and the first chapter. I tried to use the empty space right on the top here to draw something that is quite important for the whole story, but also for this first chapter, really. You have to read it to find out why I drew this. And yeah, I prefer doing illustrations, but I also underline, of course, and put some notes on here, but they are all in German, since the book is German and all the people in the group are German as well. so I'm afraid you will not be able to read those, but it's more about just looking at the aesthetic of the page and not the individual notes, words, phrases, whatever. Since a lot of people read this book now, we have a lot of annotations in here, like some pages look like this already, which, I don't know, I think it's kind of beautiful. So yeah, a lot of stuff on here. And just so that I don't show you all the pages, I will skip to the ones where I put the illustrations in. So these first chapters are all written from the perspective of the husband of the vegetarian, which is a very interesting perspective to say the least, since, well, I couldn't agree with a lot of stuff that the character was doing or thinking. So yeah, quite controversial, but it was really, really interesting. And we have this vegetarian woman who just one day decides to refuse eating any meat anymore, and all the people around her, her family, her husband's family, friends and colleagues, whoever, they're just very shocked. They don't approve of it, and it's basically just about that and what happens with all of the relationships between these people, and also about just the vegetarian and how she's evolving, I guess, throughout the book. So the writing style was very, very nice indeed. Also some stuff like this, I don't know how these are called now, but yeah, got those in here as well. And also stuff like that if there wasn't enough space. But yeah, where was I? They don't approve and they don't know why she would do such a thing. So yeah, I was talking about the writing style, right? Yeah, I really liked the writing style. It was very nice, had some really, really nice quotes in there as well that were just beautifully written. We also have some shocking stuff in there, some disgusting stuff even. I also had some horror vibes, but just with a few sentences and scenes, really. It's not the plot that is horror, in my opinion. It's just a few scenes here and there, some of the sentences, some of the metaphorical stuff that is mentioned. But yeah, not the biggest fan about literary fiction, so all in all, the plot and the characters weren't for me, but the writing style was very, very nice. And as I said, the atmosphere was great as well. So I will check out some other books by the author if they sound interesting plot-wise to me. But this is by no means a bad book. It, again, was just not for me particularly, but I don't regret reading it, because it's always nice to read something about Asian culture and society. And it also reminded me a lot of, what's it called in English? Convenience store woman. Had some similarities in there, not plot-wise really, but in terms of characters and maybe even writing style, I don't remember. It was quite similar, and both of those talk about Asian culture, society, individual lives, literary fiction, and so on. And then there was also some stuff in there that reminded me of A Little Life by Hana Yanagihara, which I also didn't love, but again, quite similar in terms of talking about society, relationships, individual struggles, psychological struggles, emotional stuff as well. So yeah, if you like those two books and you haven't read The Vegetarian yet, go check it out if you want to. So on this page that I showed earlier, I put the definition of dream in here because I think both of these definitions play a role in this book. So we have the dream that you experience in your sleep, and then also the dream or ambition that you have, something that you dream of that you want to achieve in the future, something like that. And then also, of course, Martin Luther King's speech, I Have a Dream, fits in here as well. Got some blood on here for reasons. A few pages later, we're on page 24 now. We've got a lipstick on here, very similar to the picture that I drew on top of the first chapter. Has some meanings in here. This is also a kind of special page where part 1 is over, I would say, and in part 2 we follow a different character who is an artist who's spontaneously inspired by the vegetarian now, and he's into drawing flowers. So we've got some flowers on there. I didn't draw those, but were very fitting to tell you about this perspective now. So basically the next page has some more flowers. I drew those right here, some Asian flowers, and also inspired by the actual book cover. We've got some meat on here. I know it's very hard to see if you don't know what it is meant to represent, but yeah, that's why I'm telling you. So I really liked this part of the story. The book is split into 3 parts, I believe, and I really liked the second one. That was very interesting. I mean, you can't really say that I liked it because some disgusting stuff happens in here, but it was the most interesting to me for sure. So we're still in this chapter, and had a phone right here because there were some phone calls going on, and there are always phone calls in every part, I think, so they do play a role somehow. Have to do with the relationships and so on, so it just made sense to draw something for it. On the next page, just at the bottom, we have that right here, which is the thing that you click, this bell, doorbell, is that a thing with this symbol on it. And shortly thereafter we have this right here, washing some fruit to eat them. Just makes sense with the title itself and our main character, but it also happens in this scene. Which is always how I got inspired to draw these. If something in a scene is mentioned that I think is interesting to draw and is kind of important to the story, I will do so. Again, to represent the artist, got a paintbrush and some flowers. More door numbers, or however you call that. I also put emojis in there sometimes after some of my notes. And then we're still in part 2, so more flowers that the artist draws. Really happy about this. Looks like a border to the page, which I really like. And then on here some shocking stuff is about to happen, so I just had to put my reaction while I was reading it in here. which is something that felt like the climax of the story almost. And then we have part 3 here. Again, not something that I drew, but I hope the person is okay with me showing it. Because this part is called Trees on Fire. And in this one, we follow a different woman who has to do with the vegetarian in some way. Can't really talk about it. It was interesting somehow, but a bit too long for me, and compared to the other 2 parts, it was the least interesting to me personally. So it starts out rainy. Got some umbrella right here that the main character for this perspective uses. And we also have some birds, butterflies, moths mentioned in this part. And also more art stuff. So I drew a camera in here. Towards the end now, we're almost done with the book. We have this underlined sentence right here: time never stops. So had to draw some Dali clock in here. I just use every opportunity I can to draw one of those. And what I think is really interesting is that this quote is mentioned at least 3 times in the next few pages, only to be followed by the time's up a few pages later. So really on the last few pages, don't read the text please, is this drawing. Can't really tell you what this is all about, it would spoil the story for sure. But yeah, got that on the whole page. And that was actually my last drawing, so this is just my rating for the story. We do this in every single book, giving it a star rating and just summarizing our thoughts and maybe explaining it more if we didn't in the book. So I basically wrote down everything that I told you, I think. Yeah, I appreciated having different perspectives and not just one in there, to just learn about how different people live, what do they think about the matter, and how do they act, and it just brought a whole lot of variety in there as well. I would have loved to have a perspective about the woman who is called the vegetarian on the title, in the title. So that would have been very interesting. I also like that this takes place over a rather long period of time. So it spans over a couple of years. And yeah, everything else in there I told you. So yeah, that was my little review for The Vegetarian by Han Kang. And also showing you my annotations for it. I'm really excited to read the romance book very soon in November. I think it will arrive in November for sure, and I don't want to read it in October anyway, so that's perfect for me. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in my next one if you want to. So until then, take care, happy reading, and bye.